Yeah, they went to the river office, even though I thought it was pretty clear about KLP office. So what we're gonna do, so you guys can know.
Yeah, I'm excited for next quarter. The kids go back to school for more hours in the week.
I know what you got. I know your thought.
Good thing.
Things in and out of the house. So you should use them.
Productivity group call.
And of course, I don't know what one looks like on Zoom, so I have no idea what the productivity group thing.
Well, we do a lot of group calls on Zoom because I mean, COVID has started that situation, so we didn't have a whole lot of people interaction.
Sure.
We're going to be moving to that location, back to that, because I think once a month we need to do at least an in-person.
Yeah.
And at each market center. So we'll do one here 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, we'll do one at the office parallel to the river area. Such short cords. So it's a beast of a cord.
Yeah.
Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Jorge. So I'll apologize to those that are not here. You're not going to get the, yeah. We're going to stack that. Hopefully it turns right on. Oh, it's triggering something. Okay. Well, I don't know if they're on. Do they turn on by themselves? Where's the remote? Where's the remotes?
You got a little trickery thing. You might have to ask for it.
Clickery dickory
It's
do.
not here. Sometimes I think they keep it. Oh no.
We're gonna find out if it turns on. Well, it did something.
That one came on.
That one came on. Good.
HDMI 2.
All right. Perfect.
No, I like.
So this one's
I
on.
just have to get, yeah.
Hopefully this will come on too, so we can do them both.
Oh, we lost signal.
It's okay. It's still picking up both of them. All right.
Still. Good stuff.
It's good stuff. All right, we're on.
Hey.
We're on both. Perfect. So, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Okay, cool. So we have, as you guys can see, we're doing our first hybrid PC call. And those who are just jumping on the call, we're going to reiterate, we're going to be doing a PC call in person in a hybrid situation like this at each market center once a month. So 1 week will be over at the KLP office, 1 week will be at the JV office, and they'll probably be every other week. We'll be switching back and forth. So if you guys want to partake into the KLP office or want to partake in the JV office, just trying to bring back some corporeal friendliness back to the group so you guys have some physical representation that y'all exist. Right now we got 4 ladies in the room with me, and I got people on the screen, as you can see, and I'm sure more people will be jumping on or coming in. But today we're going to talk about buyer consultations. Buyer consultations are pretty similar to the seller consultation is just sitting down asking questions. But today I want to go over what kind of questions make sense to ask in a buyer consultation. So I'll try to interact as much as I can with those of you on the Zoom call as well, the ones in the class. So bear with me as it is. I'm glad to see you here. Teresita, it's a blessing. Thank you for joining us. Heather, thank you. Miss Robin Bender with her cowboy hat and everything. She did tell me that she wears that cowboy hat everywhere.
Everywhere.
And did you get your headshots with the cowboy hat on?
Not yet. I will.
That's what you need. That's what you need.
March.
Okay. So what I'm going to be using is I'm going to go back into our shared resources drive that all agents have access to. As long as you've provided me with your KW email, it's been assigned to your KW email. So you can find that through your Google Drive as a shared resource. So you guys can see on the screen here, productivity coaching, agent resources. You have a huge database of stuff available to you. So I'm going to do some things that's going to help us with the moving that over. But working with buyers, working with sellers, two different files, it gives you a lot of information that you want to be keen about. So working with the buyer, it's about understanding the process. There's multiple variants of the buyer presentation, including one that we are given from our partners at Title Security and Catalina Title. They provide these at all the market centers that you can get for free and utilize. Plus, we have them in command. If you have not done so, you can go to agent.kw.com, log into your command. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to go to a tech class. Looking at you, Heather. Under the designs feature on the left-hand side, you can click on Add New, go to Print, click Next. It's going to load in the KW workspace for the Design Center, where you can go in and edit all the documentation, but you click on buyers and you got your buyer presentations. There are 5 different variants of the buyer presentation that you can use. Go in there, play with the ones that you like, customize it, make it your own, and then you can download it so that they stay in your designs, and you'll have one there. As you guys can see, all of my designs here, pretty crazy. Those of you who do not, let me get into the Zoom and share my screen so y'all can see what I'm doing. Participants, claim host. So we're just going to share this screen. So we're going to share this full desktop of stuff. So we're going to close that so we don't see me seeing you seeing me. Remove this aside. So you guys should be able to see my full screen, right? Zoom people, smile and nod. Thank you, Jorge. I appreciate you. So in your command, we'll minimize this. In your command, under your designs is where they'll stay. Like you'll see all my command designs that I've made. But your listing presentation, your buyer presentations will be in there, so you can go in there and re-edit them just by clicking edit and change a name. So you have a very personalized presentation. And it gives you all the pages. You can go through and literally change the client name to, Mr. Buyer, mean buyer. And then you can make it so if it was like Jan Smith, Jane Doe, or anything like that, you can make the buyer presentation custom to them and then go through and just add some information if you wanted to about the neighborhood they're looking at and so on. But this isn't the class. This is a complete design class. We'll go over that later. I just want you to know that there's multiples available to, including the ones in our resource drive. Again, going back to our shared agent resources, working with buyers, there's a few that are already in here. We got one from buyer packet from Stewart Title, one that I've created that we've shared in there, as well as some other modern editable designs that you can utilize. The one that I work off here is just a buyer's consultation that I turned into a slide presentation. You can print this out, or you can customize it in an actual slide presentation. And it's good to have customization for it. You can see this one is just a generic, and this is why I like this one, is we're gonna go to the present mode on things so I can show you throughout the whole thing what it looks like. And then we're gonna do a run through it. How's that sound? Perfect. Got the people on the Zoom, you good? Cool. So Keller Williams is a company that gives a lot of resources to their agents to utilize because we are in the digital marketplace as well as the physical. So a lot of people like to have both, like we're doing now, a physical presentation as well as a digital one. So being able to understand what works best for your clients is paramount. If you got a client that's old school, that doesn't want to sign documents in DocuSign, doesn't want to do anything like that, you're going to spend a lot of time at their house. You're going to get to know them very deeply. Other clients that don't have time to sit and meet may be okay with a quick presentation via FaceTime or Zoom like we're doing now, but it also might add a whole lot more if you're able to do a presentation via Zoom or in person where you can have a high level engagement with them and ask good questions. So your buyer's presentation is simple. You got a cover page, a letter about yourself. So this is just an example from one of the agents, Ina Santos. So you would go in and change all this information to be your own. So it does take some work up front to customize it so that you have your own version of it. But taking the time to do so saves you in the long run because you can just quickly grab one and run with it. Picture of yourself is important in there. This is what I love about this presentation is it actually outlines the entire buying process. It moves into the mortgage and loan process, making an offer, closing the deal, finding out the needs, doing a home search, getting started, so getting information, finding out their lifestyle, understanding the home that they wish to find, the neighborhood, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchens, more about the wish list. I love when you're asking the neighborhood of their dreams, you get to find out where they want to live. Frequently asked questions that people like to do. I don't go over these with clients. I just kind of give this to them as a reference material. This is the win-lose scenario. We're going to go over that, how we can understand what the client's expecting out of you, what the client, setting expectations. This goes along the line of the conversation we had last week of setting expectations. We want to find out what expectations they have. If your client expects you as an agent to talk to them every day, and you have another client that expects them to be talked to every week, understanding those two differences is extremely important because you can burn one of them out and the other one's going to think you're ignoring it. Right? So it's important to have those situations. Love the moving checklist. Give this to people. Said, rip this page off, get it put on the back of your fridge. And this is what we need to do. Make sure everything is moved before we get there. These are all the important important factors we need to change our address and information on. And above and beyond, it's all about them. And this is where you can put some of your client reviews. So this is just one variant of your buyer presentations, but it's a very quick thing. And this is kind of like the look forward. So now that we've kind of gone over that very quickly, and I do mean very quickly, we're going to go all the way to the back. We're going to start over. Who wants to be my buyer today? Heather? Perfect, Heather. I wish you had your computer. I'd put you on the screen so people could see you.
I meant to bring my phone back.
It's okay. Come move up closer so they can at least hear you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This way they'll be able to hear you.
All right.
So, say something, Miss Heather.
Heather.
Can you guys hear? So, this is going to be very one-sided, but you guys are only looking for the agent side of things anyway. So, very strange. We're going to utilize the screen behind us as a presentation for you, and I would do this in a meeting set instead of printing it out and giving it to you because I wanted to work with something here. So, okay, right to start off. Hi, Miss Heather. My name is Big Dan Caldwell. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Any questions about real estate before we jump into this?
Well, I've heard that the market's just really hard to find a house right now.
You are not wrong. It's a beautiful thing that we're sitting together to go over that. And we're going to find out what you know about the market, your expectations for this journey, as well as how we're going to help you get there. And by the end of it, you and I are going to work out if we're going to be a good match together. At any time during this presentation, you don't feel like I'm the right agent for you, would you let me know?
Yeah.
And the same thing. Just so I want to make sure that we service you to the highest and best of our abilities. I don't feel like I'm the right agent for you. I'm going to do the same. You ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. Well, this is our buyer's presentation. I like to go over a lot of information. There's going to be a ton of information I go over with you very quickly. At any point I say something or I talk too fast or I get too excited and you don't quite understand, slow me down. If you need me to repeat it 5 times, I will do so. I've got no problem with that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this is who I am. I'm a realtor here at Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. A little bit about me as I run our coaching program. We did over 200 deals last year, helping families buy and sell houses all over the United States. So you're in the best of care. My agent team around us to help you, get what you're looking for as best as possible. The home buying process is pretty easy. It's a very linear chart from start to finish. It just gets difficult when you add people, which is weird, right? We throw people into it, we have an issue. We start off right now, and this is the situation we're in right now. Step 1 is selecting your real estate agent. In selecting a real estate agent, you want to make sure that we talked about, we're going to find out if we're a good pairing because you want somebody that's looking after your best financial interest. After all, you're probably going to be making the largest financial purchase you've ever made. So in doing so, we want to make sure that we obtain financial approval. Step 2 is making sure we've had a conversation with the lender. One of my lending partners I can set you up with if you haven't done so already, to make sure we know what kind of property or house that we're looking for that's one, going to fit your lifestyle, but also your budget. Then we're going to find out what you're needing in the buyer consultation. We're kind of blending the first 3 together right now to make sure that you and I are on the same page with what house makes sense. After all, I would hate to put you in a house that you can't afford or you hate it, right? So next, we're going to go out and look some houses. I'm going to preview the houses for you because I'm not going to send you houses I don't think are going to fit for your style. I'm going to look at every house before I send them to you. I'm going to be the boots on the ground for you so that you don't have to waste your time looking at a house that has too short of ceilings or god-awful cabinets. But right now, the market is very slim in our inventory, so we want to make sure we find you a house that, again, fits not only your style, but your budget. But we're going to keep it down to what we call the 80-10-10 principle. That means we're going to find a house that's 80% of the home you're looking for. The location, the style, the age, all of these different factors play in. It's 10% of the house that we're going to change anyways. Paint colors, carpeting, maybe some cabinets, some small things here and there. And 10% we're going to live with. Because after all, there's no such thing as a perfect house, but I'm going to get you damn close. We're going to go out and view properties together, or myself and showing agents would help look at houses, show you around, open the doors, get you to smell like and touch things. I wouldn't lick it though. Don't do that.
We'll bring the 1-year-old.
Yeah, don't bring your 1-year-old. Because after all, before we put an offer, what was that? It's not, especially if it was built after 1970 SL. But being able to view properties is going to give you a real sense of what the home feels like. We're going to walk through the house. We're going to make sure that it's got the layout you're looking for. We're going to give you some ideas on some of the things that you can do to make the home more, more your lifestyle. Then if we identify a house that's just absolutely the one you want, we're going to write up an offer. And in doing an offer, we have 3 things that are going to happen. 1, they're going to accept our offer. We're going to high five. We're going to dance. We're going to go do a jig. 2, they can counter offer, meaning that they've liked the majority of our offer. There's just something about it they'd like to change. Could be the price, could be the terms. It could be anything involved. And then 3, they could just outright reject it. Now, it's not a rejection of you as a person. It's just a rejection of our offer that we've presented. And oftentimes we've got clients that they put an offer out there that just doesn't compete. And the seller doesn't want to entertain a counter. They have so many other offers. They just reject the offer. It's just a formalization of our process. Now, I will tell you that I'm not going to advise that you put an offer in that's not marketable. We're not out here trying to steal the deal or anything like that. We're trying to help you obtain your goal of home ownership. Next, we're going to negotiate the terms. So we write out the purchase offer. I'm going to make a phone call to the listing agent on your behalf, and I'm going to have a discussion. I'm not going to give away any of the personal information that would put us in a negotiating, hole, just to see if the seller's agent will give me anything that we can work with that'll help us out in the process. Don't worry, that's not a process you need to be a part of. I will take care of all the negotiation for you. That's after all what I'm here for. We're going to negotiate the terms, and the terms could be the sales price, how fast we close the deal or how slow we close the deal, any appliances that go along with it, any repairs that we've seen up front, pretty much anything to do with the house itself, we can negotiate around, and we're going to negotiate in a term that gives you the best chance of winning that deal. After all, the market's hot and there's a lot of deals going on right now. We want to give you the best chance of winning. Then the seller accepts the contract. At this point, we are technically under contract. This right now is where 3 things are going to happen. 1, you need to get the earnest money involved. What is earnest money, you might ask? Earnest money is the deposit we put up front that tells the sellers that we are going to do everything that we said we're going to do by the contract. And the contract's well written out. I've got a copy of it right here for you. Break script. It's important to have these things. So right here for you. And that information will be laid out. We'll go over this book here in a little bit as well. So now that we've gone that we're under contract, we're going to deliver the earnest money to the title department. Then that's going to allow them to open up title. They're going to start the escrow process where title is going to do all of their research on the property to make sure that we have a free and equitable title, meaning that there are no other unregistered owners that would have prior legal right to that property. After all, we don't want you guys moving in and having somebody come by and say, get out of my house. So on top of that, we are going to do our due diligence. So we have 10 days from the moment they accept our contract to do inspections, where we're going to look for anything that might be of concern to you. We're going to look for any major concerns with safety, structural, or mechanical defects in the house that would make your desire to buy the house limited. So, and these things could be, foundation problems, water, electrical, HVAC, like the heating and cooling issues, or safety could be as simple as a door not opening correctly or a window jarring, because we want to make sure that you have safe access to the home. We're going to overlook a bunch of the small stuff, a light switch that's broken or some paint that's scuffed up or maybe a ding in the drywall. Because after all, we want to make sure we're looking for major concerns, because a lot of those small things we're going to be able to see when we see the house anyways. And we're going to help you with a game plan on getting through those. Now, title's doing their inspections, we're doing our inspections, and now the lender's doing their inspections, what they call underwriting. So while we are doing our due diligence in finding a home, the lender is going to ask that you send them all their information that they need to do due diligence on your finances. So right now we are in the inspection period and anything and everything is being inspected from title to the pay. Any questions so far?
No.
Yeah, typically on a home inspection, we're looking for major inspections, like we're at a general inspection, a roof inspection, plumbing inspection if there's a concern for it, a pool inspection if it has a pool or equipment like that, if there's solar systems, anything that could cause major problems later on down the line. Now, once we get through all of our inspections, we have a chance to submit to the seller a request for them to remedy any of the items we disapprove of. Now, I will tell you that the seller is not obligated to do anything because as our contract states, we're actually buying this house as is. So we do have the chance for them to remedy some stuff. And these are things that I've seen happen as small as a light switch and as big as a garage. But I'm gonna challenge you that anything we put out there, we're gonna talk about first to make sure that it is a no pass for you. Once we submit that request to them, they have 5 days to respond to us. And then we get the final say. If they've changed anything, we have 5 days after that to move forward, which takes about 20 days of our process. So if we look at things now from now until 20 days from now is typically what we're looking at if we were to find you the perfect house right now. Now, we are through our inspection period. We've already made our request. Us and the seller side have agreed upon any repairs or any kind of remedies that we've asked. It's all done. This is what I call the gray days of the zone. There's not a whole lot going on for you and I, not a lot of communication back and forth after we get through the inspection period, which we also call the BINSR period. It's an acronym for buyer's inspections and then the seller's response. When we get through our BINSR period, there's a lot of communication back and forth. Then there's nothing. We just feel like we're just waiting. And we are, because we're waiting for the lender to finish up their underwriting. We're waiting for title to finish up their underwriting. And we're just waiting till a close date. Now it gets real interesting because during that time, there's going to be an appraisal. The appraisal often gets ordered right when we get the deal started. And when the appraisal gets done, we get to find out if the home appraised at value, meaning for the offer that we've asked for, or if there's any issues with it. That becomes another negotiating point. Once we get through the negotiations of our appraisal, we move towards closing. And then another gray zone. There's not a whole lot going on up until 3 days before the close of escrow. And that means 3 days before closing, right? We get to go walk the house again to make sure that they did all of the repairs that they said they were going to do. And then we get to make sure that the house is substantially the same as when we first put in the offer. We don't want them to take out any major appliances. We don't want them to cut the copper out of the house. We don't want them to destroy anything because after all, when you take ownership, we want the house to be like it was when we bought it, right?
Right.
Perfect. Now we're at the day of closing. This is where you need to have the certified funds, like a cashier's check or a wire from your bank that that your lender has instructed you need for your down payment or other additional closing costs involved, so that we can move forward to closing. We're going to sign all of our documentation. The seller is going to sign all their documentation. And once it's all signed, it gets sent back to the bank. The bank compiles everything, make sure it's good. The bank sends the money. Once title receives the money, they will issue what they call a recording notice. Once the deed is recorded, meaning it's trained, you've signed it, they've signed it, it's being recorded, that's when legal transfer happens. You are now the homeowner. At that point, I can give you keys, we can high five, we can dance, we can do a jig. Good days, right? Any questions about the process? I know I went really high level really quickly, but I want to kind of give you an insight of what's going to happen as we go through the process.
No, it's pretty clear.
Perfect, fantastic. So it's important for us to obtain financial pre-approval so that we know what you're looking for. I work with a couple of lenders that I really trust. They're my lending partners for a reason. So I'll get you lined up with a couple and give you some options to talk to. And here's the different variances. Steve Lemon's my #1 lender. This is what he does. We also have Keller Mortgage, which you can save some money on your interest, or save money on your closing costs, as well as they pay for $1,000 towards your deal. You only get that as being a Keller Williams client. So at this point, guys, you can pick up the phone and call your lender if you don't have a pre-approval. That way you don't have to stop the process. Yeah, this rolls into it. Then you'll also find out if they've talked to a lender yet or not. And you can pick up the phone and say, okay, great, let's get you on the phone with Steve, or let's get you on the phone with Keller Mortgage, or pull out your phone and send them the app and have them applied right then and there, and then move forward. Because that kind of just gets going. Kelly's gonna move over.
I couldn't see your face.
You can come sit here too if you want. I just wanted her there so they can hear her talking.
I hear you.
So when we talk about making an offer, there's a ton of things we're going to look at. So your family's need to move, coupled with the financial aspect of it. So we want to look at what the seller's looking for in time frame. It might be a quick close, might be a slow close. What you guys need to do for the loan, and I would never want you to do a fast close if our lender's not able to accommodate that, because we don't want to create an issue where the seller's upset with us. So we want to have these conversations. Other things that negotiate in that are closing costs. Closing costs are costs associated with the deal beyond your normal sales price and down payment. Typically, that's 3% of the sales price in additional fees, lender fees, title fees, and other closing costs. Do you have the funds set aside for that as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic. You guys are well prepared. I love it. I wish I had more clients like you. In the event that they don't have options, right? We can put closing costs in a deal. We need to discuss increasing sales prices and stuff like that. Make sense? But you want to find out right now if they have that money. Notice how I didn't talk about it during the time frame. We didn't talk about it in the timeline because now we're getting into specifics of the conversation. Typically 3 and 3. If you're looking at a $250,000 house, it's $5,500 in closing costs for an FHA loan, which is less than 3%. But if someone's got 6% saved up, then you definitely have a position where it could be an equitable deal. But having that money and having that conversation now alleviates that concern when you get to closing. They're like, what do you mean I need $11,000? I thought you said I only need $7,500. So it's important to cover this when you're doing your presentation, because right here it's not on here, but maybe you want to put it on there for your closing costs on your presentations to cue it up as a conversation. Your buyer's presentation here is designed to help you have the conversations about each part of the deal. So we've already kind of talked about the process of buying it and selling it, but this is where you're going to discuss what not to do also. Miss Heather, because you're securing a loan for the financing of your house, I will tell you that during the process, do not sell, buy, or open up any other credit lines. We don't want anything to change until after we record.
Can't open up those 3 credit card applications?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Everything can wait. What's more important, the shopping spree at Penny's or the brand new house? Right? These are things you want to talk about up front, because does it happen?
Yes.
And I will tell you, Miss Heather, same as cash is credit. If it requires your social security number, say no. Clear?
Yep.
Right. That way we have the money you need to close the deal. So when we come to closing, make sure you have a driver's license, valid state driver's license is not expired. That way we can get everything taken care of. We'll get everything done. We'll get you delivered the house, and we'll meet up to give you the keys. So I really want to emphasize this for you, Miss Heather, is that my job as your real estate professional is to help you buy a house, not to buy the house, because this is all about your needs, your dreams, your concerns, any questions you have, your finances, your time, and your life. None of this is about me. At any point you see a house that you absolutely love and I hate, guess what? I won't tell you. I will reserve my opinion because it's not my property. It's not my life. I will give you constructive feedback about properties that I feel may be concerns of mine, but I'm not going to pass judgment. And I'd hope that you understand that this is out of respect for you, because after all, this is what you're going to call home, not me. So break script. Notice how I changed tempo, brought it way down, add sincerity, because you want to make the process about them. We buy and sell houses all the time. I want you guys to think about that. Even though if you've only done one deal or no deals, we buy and sell houses all the time. We become jaded to the fact of the process. It becomes non-magical at this point. Mm-hmm. When you've sold 100 homes, houses all look the same. They blend together. You're like, oh, I've seen this floor plan before. I've sold this floor plan to the Smiths and the Joneses. And you'll start seeing floor plans across town that match. You're like, oh, okay, I know what this house looks like. Like in your mind, you already know what it looks like. You don't even need to go look at it because you've seen this floor plan 100 times. The magic is still with the buyers.
They haven't seen it 100 times.
They haven't. That's why we have to put ourselves in their shoes. You got to remind yourself that this is about them, not us. This is your buying, your process, your dreams, your desires. If you love Harvest Gold, great. As your agent coach, I don't want to know your opinion about that house, because it doesn't matter. Even if they ask you, hey, Lorraine, what do you think? Tell me what you like about it. Right?
I just throw it back at them.
What are your thoughts? And tell them, hey, Heather, this isn't about me. This is about you. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? What stood out to you? And it could be as simple as a face. You guys see my face? I'll stop the share for a second so you can see this. It's as simple as a, whew, right?
And that's where a mask helps, right? And as long as you're not expressive with your eyes.
Jorge,
Right back to the contact call.
you go. Are we back on the presentation, Jorge? Okay. But you want to make sure these are the expressions we make nonverbal actually have more of an impact than the things that we say.
Right.
When you're doing your presentations, you want to set that ground tone out there. Your. And you'll hear me say it a lot. Your house. No, I say your home. Your home. The emotional word home is a lot stronger than house or property. Property is the least emotional thing you can say about real estate. Ms. Heather, would you like to buy this property?
No.
Would you like to buy this house? Would you like to buy this home? What we say matters even in the consultation. So again, this is a presentation that keeps you on track to have these conversations. So my focus is your complete satisfaction. I work to get the job done so well that you will tell your friends and families about me. Because after all, I've built my business on repeat and referral business. And I hope that we have such a referable experience, you'll tell everyone you know. Good service speaks for itself. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to earn your referrals as well. It's never too early to start asking about referrals because we are in the middle of a transaction. We have started. Our brains are focused on real estate, finding, buying, selecting real estate. You are more likely to come across a friend, family, coworker in this moment than you will after we close. Because after we close, you're focused on moving, unpacking, getting organized. Your brain is away from real estate. We set the expectation right now for real estate because that's what we're focused on. And I'll even throw this out there. Miss Heather, right now, you are going to start looking at houses and thinking about houses, and your entire brain is going to be consumed with houses. And as you work through your day to day and you go to work and you talk to friends and family and you come across somebody who's thinking about houses as well, your reticular activating system is going to ping. You're going to start noticing all this. Remember, like anytime you get a new vehicle, you start seeing that vehicle everywhere. Or every time you see a commercial and you start seeing that commercial all the time. It's actually not changing in volume. It's just our focus to it has changed. So we start focusing on it. And as you come across people that want to buy or sell or invest in a house or a home, right? Would you give them would you give me their contact information so I can help them in the manner that I'm helping you? Ask for a referral right then and there. Boom. So as a home search, there's multiple things we're going to do. I'm going to set you up on a home search with our TAR app, which is the MLS here. I'm going to also get you set up right here on my KW app so you can play around at night and save properties and save. And the beautiful thing about our app is it updates every 15 minutes or so. So it's one of the most active third-party apps. It's not an MLS because of our affiliations with all the real estate jurisdictions in the United States. At this point, get them to download your Keller Williams app. Get them to download it right then and there and show them how to use it. So the beautiful thing is when you work with me, you get a knowledgeable professional, a committed ally to negotiate on your behalf, and the backing of a trusted company. Keller Williams is the #1 brokerage franchise in the world for a reason. It's because we take care of people. We do it right. So I have the systems in place to make sure home buying is as simple as possible. And at my service, I'm going to commit to you by helping you preview homes in advance, personally touring homes with you and neighborhoods with you to make sure that you understand not only the home you're buying, but the environment as well. Keeping you informed of all the new homes that hit the market, including the opportunity of going and looking at brand new built homes. I can help you there as well. Helping you preview homes on the web and making sure that you have the newest and latest information, both via my app as well as a service I'm going to send you monthly. Advise you on other homes that have sold in those areas and how much, that you know what the market's doing, as well as working with you until we find you the home of your dreams. Any questions?
No.
So what's your name? Right? We get all the correct information. Anyone else buying the house with you?
Yeah, my husband,
And his name?
John.
When's he get back from overseas, right? Find out. Where's he at?
God, he better not fly anytime.
So who's the primary contact? Who should I call first?
Oh, me.
Definitely you?
John doesn't want you to bother him.
No, not at all. We're not going to talk to John. John is just going to sign and go.
He'll walk into a house and say, "Can we just buy this one?"
So we definitely don't. We want John around, but not much.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally what he did when we bought our house.
Oh, fantastic. Tell me more about it. What happened last time you bought a house?
I went and looked at all the properties.
And how was that?
It was great.
What would you have changed?
I would have told my realtor to point out to us storage. We are terrible about paying attention.
Okay.
There's no linen closet in our current house. The one we own, it's tiny. You're awful about that.
Okay. What else was important when you're out looking for houses?
Well, we need at least 3 bedrooms. 4 if there's not a second living space.
What do you mean by second living space?
Another living room or.
Okay, so when you guys were buying the house now, you were looking for a second living space?
Yep.
Is that why you bought the house?
Yep.
Okay.
We didn't need 3 bedrooms at the time, but
Families grow, right?
Yep.
Any more growth after this?
No.
No. Not only no, but a hell no.
And most likely not no.
Okay. Well, fantastic. What were the things that your realtor did that you liked?
I did like her a lot. I did reach out to her when we moved, and she gave us the referral for our management company. Actually,
So she was trustworthy.
she was trustworthy.
You worked it fine.
Yeah.
I'm putting words in her mouth so she'll answer something.
Yes, I know. Actually, she still sends emails to us. Information about the area.
If you can remember anything about the process you absolutely hated, what would it be?
Everything went pretty well. It was a buyer's market, so it was real easy for us. The sellers actually paid our closing costs.
Okay.
No, we won't get that right now.
No, not right now. It's a whole different beast, but you understand that. So this is where we can literally, at this point, guys, you can go through the rest of the presentation, or you can do like I like to do. And that's simply just I think the share went away, right? Stop share. We're back to just us. And at this point, have a conversation. Tell me more. We want to find out their expectations. Notice how when she started talking about her other deal, when she bought, I instantly stopped my presentation because it was a natural tie-in for me to start asking her, well, what happened? What did you like? And she gave out something that was super important to her. And what is that? Storage, right? Not something we typically think about.
No.
However, it created such a thing in your brain that you're like, storage, got to have storage. So at this point, we start, okay, tell me more about your experience with real estate.
Well, one of the things that I did was I sat down and we mapped out houses and went and looked at neighborhoods before we even looked at them with our realtor. So we knew if the neighborhood would work for us or not.
Okay. What's smart is you took the time to go and find out if a neighborhood would work for you well before. That's
we didn't
awesome.
like the neighborhood. We didn't look at the houses.
So what was it about the neighborhood that stood out to you?
It wasn't very crowded. There weren't a lot of cars on the street. It looked well taken care of. There's a park down the street because we had a 4-year-old at the time.
Right.
Now I'm not 1-year-old.
So. Back to square one, right?
Yeah. He's our do-over baby. Not because we're trying again, but because we have to do it all over again.
Well, what else was important about the neighborhood?
It was quiet.
Okay.
Not a lot of noise, not a lot of traffic.
Okay.
Something we don't really love about the house we're in is because the main street is right behind our house.
Tell me more.
It's so noisy.
Okay.
And the 1-year-old's such a light sleeper.
Right.
So I hate that. All the traffic. I
So-
do like the park down the street though.
Park down the street still counts. So
Yeah, still counts.
Notice how when we're talking about this, I'm going to break script a lot on this. We're going to go back and forth, but we're going to talk about trigger moments. Notice how her energy shifted when she talked about the house. The main thoroughfare in her neighborhood is right behind her house, and how much she despised it.
I hate it.
But then she corrected herself by saying, well, the park down the street is still nice.
I like the neighborhood. I just
So-
don't like the street we're on.
Do you think she'd be willing to buy the perfect house in a noisy street if the park was down the street again?
Maybe. Maybe.
It's a maybe. Some people would see it as an absolute no. Nope, it's too loud. Main Street can't do it. We have to look at the neighborhood in total, not just the house. If I were to put you in a house on backs up to Speedway and there's a wall barrier, you'd be like, no, it's on Speedway. However, I took you to the house and next door is the park. Right next door is the park. And the house has triple pane windows. So when you close the windows and doors, you don't hear anything.
That would probably work.
You got to know the house. And these are things you got to talk to them about. So we know the concerns and how to get around them. Now, tell me more about your perfect neighborhood. What's the next neighborhood look like?
I don't know. Still less cars on the street would be nice. There's a lot of people on our street parking up their houses. Our next door neighbors parked in front of our house for a year and a half with a car they never drove.
So just a car in front of your house for a year and a half.
Yep. That they never moved.
So no one does anything about it?
No, they finally sold it.
Okay.
So now we can actually park in front of our house if we have guests.
Right. How would you feel about a community that had, rules that would help dictate that and help keep that cleaned up?
Probably not. I mean, it would be nice, but we also don't want a lot of strict rules telling us what we can and can't do.
Okay.
So,
Like what?
I don't know. I don't know. As far, when we moved here, we were like, no, we don't want an HOA, and now we live in Sarita. So we've definitely got an HOA.
Right.
But we don't actually hear much from them. So I guess we're doing all right.
So an HOA in theory you don't want, as long as it's not a big presence.
No.
So,
We're flexible.
gotcha. Again, creating opportunity, right? Some people are going to instantly say, no HOA. I don't want an HOA. I've already debunked it just by saying, well, we live in one now, but we don't ever hear from them. There's cars in front of my house for a year and a half and nothing ever happened. So we find out what they're willing to tolerate, because we have to create opportunities. We have to create options, because right now the perfect house exists. It absolutely exists. You have to go find it. You have to create the dream around it. Now, we can talk about the neighborhood all day, right? We can go in and we can find out exactly the neighborhood. We're going to ask questions about, okay, now tell me about your commute to work, right? These are next questions. Find out proximities, what they're used to, what they like, what they would like, what would be desirable.
Yeah.
So
It's from Rancho Sarita to base is about half an hour for John. He doesn't mind that. He doesn't want any further.
okay, no more than 30 minutes away. Got it?
We both grew up in Southern California, so I don't mind a little bit of a commute. Driving from here to the road's not that big of a deal to me.
Mm-mm.
I used to drive 45 minutes to work at Target, so I mean.
Anywhere in town, right? 30, 45 minutes, anywhere in town. 30 minutes to base though. John was a hard set, 30 minutes to base, right? It's the first time she said anything about her husband that was a hard line in the sand. He don't give a shit about the house, but 30 minutes away from work. Right? You guys can, these, you got to find the dead fast, like this is it. So these things, but like Teresita said, she can leave anywhere in town. But John has to be 30 minutes away from base. Kicker. What time does John go to work?
It depends on what shift they put him on. But
Okay.
swings, he leaves around 1 in the afternoon.
So
Oh, shoot.
not a whole lot of traffic on the road. So
Yeah.
now we open up some opportunities because we got the main thoroughfare. We can go aviation. You can live in Marana and get to the base in 30 minutes. You just can't live in Red Rock.
Depending on what time.
Yeah, you want to find this out too, because we will limit ourselves as an agent. We're trying to make it easy and limit ourselves. We want to give ourselves potential and opportunity by thinking, okay, timeframes, traffic patterns. 30 minutes to somebody is actually a skewed number.
Yeah.
30 minutes gives you 20 to 40. I live 30 minutes away from here. Do you think driving from this office to my house feels like 30 minutes? No, it feels like a friggin' hour.
Right.
tons of traffic, tons of stoplights, old ladies with poodles and shopping carts on Craycroft in the Skyline. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But this is all realistic. This is realistic to what we're doing. And when we're having a buyer consultation, we don't, you know how we've gone about 45 minutes and we're not even at the house yet.
Right.
Because we're discussing the neighborhood, and we've elongated a lot of it because we're talking about different things and we're having a lot of conversations. That you want to find the trigger points. You want to find the pain points. And I haven't even gotten to that point yet. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep her in the positive right now, right here in the now, the positive present. And then I ask questions like, what would you change about your house? What is making you want to move?
Well, you know, we rent.
Right?
So-
These are,
And I mean, we own a house in Albuquerque, but we're thinking about selling it and buying a new house here. And I'm worried our landlord's going to up the rent when the lease is up, seeing as how the market's gone up.
tell me more.
Well, I know a lot of rental prices in Rancho have gone up. So
Quite a bit. What are you paying now?
$14.95.
Oh, wow. And that's quite a bit of house.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep going because I want to break point and keep going, but you could take that $14.95 and extrapolate even deeper, right? How's it going to feel when your landlord changes the rent, right?
It's
Notice
not
the
gonna
tempo.
happen.
Notice the tempo of my conversations. When she's positive, they're positive, and when they're not, I drop my tone, slow my voice down, have my cadence be very much so in the form of caring and giving. Like I call it my dad mode. Tell me what the neighbor kid did. Did he hit you? Did you need me to go beat him up? So, but that gives you a connection, and that tonality in itself creates a connection with the person you're sitting across from.
Yeah.
So that you can have an engagement with them that not only unearths what's ideal in the house, but you find motivation. They're renting, right? They know the power of home ownership. They bought the house 12 years ago, 10 years ago. I thought your teenager was 16 for some reason.
No.
So no, it
Not
was
quite.
4. So 10 years ago when they bought the house, was the market different? Yeah, in a buyer's market. She already knows that, but she said, well, I know it's not like that now. Good. I don't have to cover that. She already knows. Don't harp on things you don't need to. So we find the motivation. We're going to sell. We're renting right now. Okay. Well, if you're renting right now, what keeping you from keeping on? What has you not wanting to rent anymore? Right? It's the rental, the landlord could change things on you. It creates a really shitstorm. Now let's start asking about the house. We already know she kind of already went at 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, but it doesn't have a second living area. What's important about the second living area? You're going to use this term a lot. What's important about insert statement?
Well, the teenager likes to have a place to hang out outside. Well, we like to see our teenager every so often. So if they're out of their room,
It's nice.
And she doesn't have a TV in her room. She's not allowed to have a TV in her room yet. So she can go watch TV in the loft. We do have a loft.
Okay. So how do you like living in a 2-bedroom house now?
Well, it's a 3-bedroom.
There's a 2-story house now. Sorry.
We're fine with it. Actually, it's good for my bad knee, but John's knees are starting to go, and he's not loving it anymore.
So in the next house,
Might be a fun story.
might be.
Might be preferable for him.
So if John had a say in this, you would think John would say.
John would always say one story.
Okay, John would always say
He
one
would
story.
always say one story.
So we get John's buy-in if it's 30 minutes from work and it's a 1-story house.
Yeah, he would be more than happy.
What else is John's absolute buy-in?
He doesn't care about the kitchen. Oh, a nice size garage. He has to have a garage.
So a garage is a no pass. Has to have a
Has
garage.
to have a garage.
Okay.
And a 2-car at least. Not a 1-car, because he's got a lot of tools and he's got to have his craft space in the garage. His crafts are messy. They have to be in the garage.
Okay. What kind of crafts does he do?
He builds models, so he does spray painting.
Okay. What kind of models?
Gundam models.
Very cool. I don't know what that is, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
Gundam models.
Giant robots.
Giant robots. So, okay. Well, You had mentioned that he doesn't care about the kitchen.
He
Kind of
doesn't.
sounds like you do.
I do.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, I like to bake. I have a lot of pans and baking stuff. I have an entire drawer dedicated to cookie cutters. So I need a lot of cabinet space, or at least a decent amount of counter space and a walk-in pantry where I could put some stuff. You know, I'm flexible, but I need, space to put those things.
Okay. What else about the house is an absolute must for you?
Walk-in closet is nice, but I lived for 4 years in England with a wardrobe, so I can make do.
So flexible, right? Now, have you guys starting to put a picture together of the house in your mind? It's not just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Any monkey with a computer can find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Right, Jacob? Right. So, I love you, buddy. But the thing is being able to identify these things, like in my mind, and I'll give you the insight of a more experienced agent, is in my mind, I start thinking about, okay, neighborhood specifics. There's got to be a park. So east side, there's some communities with parks. 30 minutes from base, we can't be central, no parks. We can be upper central, north central, because there's a couple of parks. 2-car garage, can't be central anymore. There ain't no garages in central. Well, we want a big kitchen, okay? The house has to be built between, later than 2000 to have a garage and a big kitchen. Because in the 70s, they built small kitchens, small gathering spaces, no second living spaces. Newer built homes, right? You're gonna find more second living spaces, living room, family room, lofts, parks, communities, larger garages. So we start thinking about these things, and it's not just 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's what the house does. And we're going to wrap up soon. We're going to go a little longer than 3:30, but it's important that because we find the story behind the expectation. And notice the entire time I've been asking her what she liked about her agent, what she didn't. We go back, we look back at our presentation, we have that win sheet. So we're going to imagine that we went through the entire house. Tell me more. Tell me what's important about that. What's important about that? Because I want to know what each room does for her. We already know the walk-in closet doesn't matter. She didn't even care about it. She's all live with a wardrobe. What's the most important thing for her? Kitchen. I imagine a kitchen with an island and pantry cabinets and a walk-in pantry and drawers galore.
That would do it.
That's right. And I'm surrounded by women. I don't know what it is about. It's always the women on our calls because you guys want to sell houses. I love it. You're showing up and putting these boys to shame. But that's the thing is that we got to use our brains to envision, but we have to have the buyer paint the picture for us and keep our bias out of it. Maybe she doesn't want an island. Maybe she's all, I actually hate islands. I want a horseshoe kitchen. Right? Because she said big walk-in pantry. Typically, you don't get a big walk-in pantry with an island. It's just knowing the builds of the houses. But when we ask those questions, tell me about the master bedroom. Right?
Well, our current house has a bathtub and a shower, which is really convenient with the 1-year-old.
Okay.
The 14-year-old doesn't have to share her bathroom yet. I don't like the master bedroom being away from the other bedrooms, at least one near the master bedroom for the baby. I like him to be near me until he's old enough to get out of the house on his own if there's a fire or something, I have to be close enough to grab him.
Okay. So what'd you hear?
That there should be a room close to the master.
No split floor plans. Because you're not going to find a house that has one room next to the master and the other's across the way. Because they're set up either clustered or split. Very rarely are you going to find one that's got the master with an office. And that's what it was. It was intended for an office. Master, office, bedrooms, the other side of the house. However, with a 1-year-old, you can do whatever you want with that office. So identifying these, but now there's a safety factor, right? She has to be able to get the kids out in a hurry. Now, is she going to like a house that's got iron bars on it? Did you even connect the two of those before now? Right? It's understanding the conversations behind what's being said. It's kind of impactful where you go, oh, I didn't even think of that. I would have never thought of that. right?
If you're old, until like I told my mom, like, Mom, you're not calling to the window, you're calling to the door.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah.
But the perception of safety and security are stronger than the actual application. Like for me, I can't have bars on my window. I feel like the house is too closed in. I've been stuck in a house that was on fire and couldn't get out.
That's a word.
Yeah, these are things. These are concerns that you have. So, but creating that. Now we go into. We've gone through the house. We've gone through the yard. Like we're gonna act like we've gone through the yard, everything. So we know every aspect of the house and what matters about it. Do we know if she has dogs? She has a 1-year-old. She has pets.
I do.
Just wears diapers.
Well, I do also.
But that's
have that.
you want to ask that. Okay, who else is sharing? I love this question. Who else is sharing the house with you?
The 14-year-old, the 1-year-old.
You understand? Yeah, the 14-year-old. Now, what I also heard is that she doesn't share her bathroom yet.
Yeah.
So if I were to find a house that's been renovated, it's got 2 master suites, it'd be ideal,
Oh, kid would love it.
right?
Because then you've got the 14-year-old.
The 14-year-old is in, and she's got an ensuite,
Yeah.
right? These are things that you think about, right? We would have never known that had she not made that statement. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Any monkey can find it. What does the second bathroom have to look like? If the master has just a shower, the second bathroom has to have a tub because you can't bathe the kid in the sink forever. I've tried, doesn't work. Garbage disposal is real messy. It's a terrible way of getting rid of a kid. But these are things you ask. Now the dogs, right? What's important? What kind of yard? Tell me about the yard.
It doesn't have to be too big because they're small dogs,
Very
but
good.
John might like to get another big dog in the future.
We find out what John might want to. It's good if you had both parties, it'd be ideal. We could talk to John and Heather.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not always going to have that situation. Now we're going to fast forward because we're cutting through on times. You're going to have your buyer consultation should be about 90 minutes long. Because you are taking time to not only go through the process, we spent 20 minutes on the process and an hour on going deep. And I like to go super deep to the point, like some buyer consultations, I'll get them to cry because I have unearthed such raw emotion because you've made a connection with them. You get them so unhappy with their situation that they bring out the truth. Like my landlord calls me on the first and harasses me for my rent and I can't handle it. My husband, we're always fighting about it, or I can't stand the kids fighting anymore. Like you find raw emotion. That is your anchor for any situation you get to in real estate. You got a tough negotiation. You got to spend $5,000 more on a house. I will bring that back up every time. Miss Heather, isn't it more important to you for your kids to have their own space than it is $50 a month in payment? Isn't it more important for you for your husband to have room for his crafts so that he doesn't have to get glue and crap all over your kitchen and keep you from baking? Right? How would you feel if you come home and he's got all of his robots out on the counter and you can't bake?
No, wouldn't happen.
Right? Notice how we can play back on all this. I'm taking notes in the back of the thing because I didn't want to move my backpack and have everything rip off the counter. But you want to take notes so that you can put this in their file. Trigger points, pain points, pressure points, conversational points. What have we learned about the family so far? They've lived in England. I'd imagine that this baby's not exactly something that was super planned, right? The do-over baby, right? Big gap, 14 years. They lived in Albuquerque, owned a house, so they know home ownership. John's in the military. Heather loves to cook. I mean, fanatic about cookies. I didn't even know that until just now. You learn a lot about someone in a buyer consultation. It's not so much just sitting them down and going, would you like me to be your agent? No, it's at this point in our relationship, is there any question that I'm going to be a good agent for you? Right? If you've spent 90 minutes getting to know somebody at the core, not just having how many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What's the kitchen? Okay. Gas or electric? Okay. What neighborhood? Okay. Do you want a pool? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Let me put you on a search and talk to you never. And then we go into the buyer consultation stuff. Like here, we go over the packet. Miss Heather, like I promised you, we're going to go over the information that I provided for you that you get to take home. This is an important resource for you to take home. And included in this buyer's guide here, we partner with, you get a really cool home buyer's guide. This is a lot of the information that we've already gone over. It's going to give you information about the escrow process, who's responsible for what fees, what's going to happen, as well as some other really important information that's super helpful for new buyers like yourself. In the documents yourself, you're going to find additional resources for our title security and our partners here across the city, phone numbers for helping you switch over utilities, some cool information about Tucson that even I find Tucsonians don't even know. So it's just really neat information, and samples of the documentation you're going to be getting over this process. What's really cool about this is it gives you an in-person guide that you can look at here. I pull it out and I'll show it to him. That it's the, uh-oh. Are we back? All right. And in here, you'll actually see, these are copies of the purchase contract. And there's sample contracts. And then if you notice, the lines coordinate with the definitions and descriptions of each number. So that at any point in the process, you have a question about the contract, you have a question about any of the other documentation we go over, I'm going to provide you with a copy of that up front, because after all, like I told you, my job is to make sure that you guys are as well informed as possible so that you can make the best financial decision for both your family and your budget. Now, Ms. Heather, one last thing for us to go over, and that's our buyer broker exclusivity agreement. And what this does is this just hires me as your agent to help you find your house. Would you sign right here for me?
Yeah. Totally.
Is there any question she's going to sign? Say no.
No.
Well, Ms. Heather, what makes you say that? I'm just not ready.
No.
Okay, so you told me to say no. Well, I told you to sign it too, but that's the thing is when they say no, right? Say no.
Yeah. Well, we're just not ready. We got to sell the other house first.
We don't want to work with, we don't want to narrow it down to just one agent. Okay. Something like that. Anything like that, right? Well, do you remember at the beginning of our conversation, we outlined that if I wasn't the right agent for you at any time, you would let me know, right? Great. Am I not the right agent for you? Go ahead and sign right here. Call back to the anchor. At any point in the conversation, this is what you say up front, and at the end of the agreement, at the end of the presentation, at the end of anything you say, you and I are going to identify if we're going to be a good pair to work together or not. I commit to you as your professional to make sure that you have all the information you need to make a well-informed decision. What does that mean? If you make a bad decision, you will make a well-informed bad decision. Sign right here. So,
I like that.
any questions on Zoom, peoples? Any questions? No? Does this help you out a little bit in your next buyer presentations? Jay, it's a little bit different than the one you learned from Stormy, huh, Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go over, like, what if you as a realtor find that it's gonna be a bad fit?
At any point in the conversation, like we have neighborhood specialists, being that I work the north side and I don't do any deals in Salrita, or they want to buy a house in Green Valley. You know what, Miss Heather, I appreciate you let me know. We're still going to go over the whole process with you. I'm not going to go in and add as depth. I have an agent that I think would actually be a better fit for you out there. That way you have somebody in your backyard, right? Make it positive, but you want to respect your business too. As a new agent, you're going to run and you're going to chase the money. You have to. It's what you do. But as you grow up and develop, do I do buyer consultations anymore? Not really. This is the first one I've done in a while. Because I have a buyer's agent. I've hired somebody to do that for me. But there's no difference between the first time I do it and the last time I do it. It's all about getting to know the person. And if you, at the core, don't think you're going to be a good fit, and I'll tell you a story. I was working, I'm going to pause.